Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm going to review or recap the UFC 287 prelims here. I made individual videos for the main card fights, and now I just want to give my thoughts on the prelims. Starting at the top, Kelvin Gastelum takes out Chris Curtis or beats him by decision. Really close fight, really exciting fight. This was fight of the night and a true war. Chris Curtis really impressed me because I thought he was out of it in round two. I thought he was fatigued, and then I actually thought he was going to get finished when he was almost finished. But both these guys are just so tough, where the overwhelming majority of their losses come via decision. And that's probably how it's going to be moving forward till they retire, because they're just both tough as all fuck. And Chris Curtis showed a lot of grit in round three, really trying to make shit happen. He put his foot on the gas, and that's what made this such a competitive fight. I wasn't sure how it was going to go before the decision was announced, but I did think Kelvin did more work. Kelvin, his hand speed and his volume, was exceptional. I thought that's what carried him to victory, of course, with his toughness as well. But yeah, that left hand was money for him. And he did show that he's still dangerous. Almost got Chris Curtis out of there, which is no small feat. But again, both these guys are so tough, so I had a feeling it would go to a decision. And even though Kelvin wasn't as dominant in round three, he still showed he's tough as all fuck and not going anywhere. And he had done enough work to get the decision, in my opinion. Really good performance from both guys. I thought both their stocks went up, even though professionally, I guess that's not the case for Curtis. But yeah, just a fight of the night, a real pleasure to watch. That was a phenomenal fight. Luana Pinheiro versus Michelle Waterson Gomez. This was another razor thin fight, and Michelle Waterson Gomez had a really strong round three. She was scratching and clawing to the bitter end, but I thought Pinheiro won. I thought Pinheiro won rounds 1 and 2. I could see how it was close, but I think ultimately what it comes down to is what you make of that final 10 seconds of round one. Pinheiro landed a few good strikes. That was the moment where I said, all right, she won the round. And ultimately, that's what made me score the fight in her favor. But Pinheiro, she's dangerous. She still finished most of her opponents, and most of them via submission, but she showed she's a versatile fighter. And Michelle Waterson, look, she's slowing down, I'm sure. She's 37 years old, and she's got a lot of losses as of late, but she's very competitive, and she's still got a style that is very tough to dominate. She's obviously skilled as all fuck on the ground, but on the feet, just her style, that karate, she's always a unique matchup. And this was a good test for Luana Pinheiro. You can argue she didn't pass the test, but on paper she did. And she got her biggest victory to date. Unless the DQ over Randa Marcos means anything. I don't know. But yeah, tough loss for Michelle Waterson Gomez. She's had a lot of losses as of late and not a lot of fights. I don't know where she's going from here and whatever, but she didn't look like she was out of it. This was not a performance to be ashamed about. Anyway, Chase Sherman and Carl Williams, they battled to a non-existent fight. No, yeah, I don't know what happened with Chase Sherman. I think he was the one that got injured. I didn't even know this until the middle of the card last night, and then I found out. Once the fight started at 6:30, I was like, "Oh shit, something happened." And yeah, I didn't even hear what happened. I heard Dana White in the press conference say that he doesn't know anything about Chase, but hopefully he's all good. Joseph Pyfer knocked out Gerald Meerschaert, or TKO'd him. This was a fight where I picked Gerald Meerschaert, and I thought he would tame the beast, but you still got to face the beast. And Joe Pyfer, now he's 11-2 with 8 TKO victories or KOs, and this is by far his best victory. He just hurt Gerald Meerschaert. He didn't separate him from his senses, but he rocked him, and Gerald Meerschaert couldn't recover. He kept covering up, trying to roll over, roll through, some uses jiu-jitsu to survive and prolong the fight, but Joe Pyfer didn't let him rest and just kept pouncing on him and finally got him out of there. Great victory for Joe Pyfer. I still want to see him tested in plenty of different ways, and I thought Meerschaert would have been the guy to test him, but hey, when you're that dangerous in round one, you're not always going to be tested. So great win for Joe Pyfer. Can't wait to see him fight again. And tough loss for GM3. He's still my favorite middleweight, I'd say. And I still think he's one of those guys where he can test a lot of great fighters and beat a lot of great fighters. And when he does, it'll be by round 3 submission. That's what makes him my favorite type of fighter. Lupita Godinez and Cynthia Calvillo. Close fight. This was another close fight. I thought Lupita Godinez won. I'll be honest, I thought she won all 3 rounds. But it was like, it was close. Both these girls are kind of similar fighters. But I'd say Godinez is more powerful and a sharper athlete. I thought this would have been, a little more lopsided. And it wasn't. Cynthia Calvillo, I'm glad to see her battling. A tough weight cut at 35 years old, back to strawweight. And she looked good in this fight, against Lupita Godinez, who, despite having 3 losses or whatever in the UFC, everybody sees the promise with her. She's a very good fighter. Trey Ogden lost to Ignacio Bahamondes. This was, he was neutralized on the feet, and he never battled his way into the fight, in my opinion. Trey Ogden, we've seen this before, I've mentioned it, and every time I've talked about him since the fight, but with giving up that 1 round to Jordan Levitt, just with leg kicks. And he didn't even attempt to fight his way into the fight, it seemed like, into the round. And here, he was a step behind Bahamondes the whole way. He did kind of pick up the pace a little bit in the end, but it was too little too late. Bahamondes was just too slick on the feet, too versatile of a fighter. The guy, he's dangerous, and he's long and rangy, even though he doesn't, fight like the longest, rangiest guy. But, stance switching problems. And he was just too much for Trey Ogden. If Bahamondes was a little more limited and conventional like Daniel Zellhuber, I think Trey Ogden could have marched him down much more effectively. But Ignacio Bahamondes is the next level. So he was just too much for Trey. And Trey, I'm sure he's kicking himself today. He should have given it a better effort, I think. Easy for me to say. Steve Garcia and Shailon Nurbandeke. This was definitely a contender for fight of the night. This was a fucking wild fight. Steve Garcia is tough as all fuck and dangerous as all fuck. He's now 14-5 with 11 TKO or KO victories. And this one was just phenomenal. He landed a body shot, 2 body shots in the same spot in a split second. I don't know which one did it. I guess I'll just say both of them. But a kick and a punch in the same spot. And it was just phenomenal. And he was landing some nice shots to the body, but, he was hurt. He was hurt badly. And Shailon Nurbandeke was just a tank, when he wasn't smashing him on the feet. He was dominating him on the ground. And Steve Garcia didn't stop fighting. This guy, he's only been taken out once via submission, once via knockout. Generally, you have to beat him by decision. And he showed that grit here in this fight, that toughness. And that body shot was just a beautiful finish. This was a real war, and, I have to watch this fight and Chris Curtis, Kelvin Gastelum again, because they were both really close fights, but this could have been fight of the night, in my opinion. And then Sam Hughes taking out Jacqueline Amorim. This was a very impressive victory for Sam Hughes. Her gas tank got her the victory. Of course, her submission defense kind of helped. Jacqueline Amorim was doing really well in round 1. She hit a takedown, kind of a sloppy takedown in my opinion, far out, not set up well, but she hit it. And then she really just started working Sam Hughes, and Sam Hughes showed incredible defense. Really incredible defense with this phenom on top of her. And she sucked the life out of Jacqueline Amorim, just making her work. And then in round 2, it was evident, I think before they even really engaged, that Sam Hughes was going to take over this fight. And she's a girl who typically does very well in round 3. Like I said in the pre-fight video, every one of her wins, every one of her losses, she's winning round 3. And this was no different. I did want her to get the TKO victory. I threw a sprinkle on that. That would have gotten $250 for a $5 bet. And I felt like she was very close, but what kept Amorim safe was her jiu-jitsu. She got really sloppy as a wrestler and a striker, but her jiu-jitsu was still there for her. And it only served to help her defensively in the end, but that's what it did. She was locking up Sam Hughes, not letting her pass. You know, when Sam Hughes did get that third round TKO on Elise Reed, it was after she won the jiu-jitsu battle and got her out of there from the mount. So this was an eye-opening fight, an eye-opening loss for Jacqueline Amorim. I mean, it's her first loss, but I'll say it's impressive that she made it the distance, losing 2 rounds to Sam Hughes, who is a cardio machine in particular. So good performance from Sam Hughes, really good. Just another one of those victories where she looks like the female Darren Elkins. But Jacqueline Amorim, there's still a lot of promise there. She's just got a lot of work to do, and she's got to really work on her cardio. This will help her, but she's got to win some fights deeper into the fight. You know, it's just you can't trust somebody that gets things done in 3 minutes or less every time. But this was a great learning lesson, and again, very impressed by her making it the distance. So overall, great event from beginning to end. There were a good amount of decisions, a lot of them tight though, which means competitive fights, and that's what we saw. So 287 was fucking awesome. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.